When we think about maintaining brain health as we age, most people naturally assume it comes down to staying mentally active, doing puzzles, reading more, or keeping a positive attitude. And while all of those habits certainly contribute to cognitive longevity, what often gets overlooked, shockingly even by many healthcare providers, is the profound impact of diet on the aging brain, especially when it comes to one specific food that nearly every household consumes on a daily basis without realizing the harm it's doing. And neurologists across the globe are now sounding the alarm because what once seemed like a harmless pantry staple is now being strongly linked to premature brain shrinkage, memory loss, and an increased risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And what makes this situation especially troubling is that this particular food isn't a rare delicacy or exotic treat, but a massively popular, highly marketed, and often praised item that hides in plain sight on dinner tables and snack aisles and in freezer sections under dozens of names and flavors. And part of the reason it's so dangerous is because of how deeply embedded it is in modern food culture. It's found in breakfast cereals, salad dressings, fast food, and even items labeled as healthy, low-fat, or heart-smart, all of which creates a dangerous illusion of safety. So what is this food that's quietly undermining our cognitive function? It's processed seed oils, particularly those high in omega-6 fatty acids like soybean oil, corn oil, and canola oil. And these oils are not only chemically unstable, but also known to trigger chronic inflammation in the brain, a condition that has now been directly tied to accelerated aging in brain tissue and disruptions in neurotransmitter function. And what makes this worse is that the brain is largely composed of fat, so the quality of fat we consume directly influences the structural integrity and performance of our most vital organ. And in the case of seed oils, repeated consumption causes the delicate lipid membranes in our neurons to weaken, slowing down communication between brain cells and making memory recall, learning, and even emotional regulation more difficult, which is why many seniors report feeling foggy, forgetful, or emotionally flat without realizing that the oils used in their daily cooking or found in their packaged meals are slowly degrading their brain function from within. And recent imaging studies are now revealing the long-term neurological effects of these oils, showing measurable shrinkage in key areas of the brain like the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, regions responsible for memory consolidation, decision-making, and spatial awareness, meaning that even before symptoms of dementia appear, structural changes are already underway. And this damage is not just theoretical or limited to lab results, because neurologists are observing real-life cognitive decline in patients who, after removing these oils from their diets, begin to experience noticeable improvements in clarity, focus, and mood within weeks. And what's even more troubling is how aggressively these oils are pushed in modern diets, especially among older populations who are often told to replace butter or animal fats with heart-healthy vegetable oils, not realizing that these industrial oils are manufactured using high heat, chemical solvents like hexane, and deodorization processes that strip away any natural integrity and leave behind a residue of oxidation-prone, inflammation-boosting byproducts that the body struggles to process efficiently, especially as we age and our detoxification pathways slow down. And to make matters worse, seed oils are often reused in restaurants and fast food chains, leading to the accumulation of even more toxic compounds known as aldehydes, which are neurotoxic and have been shown to interfere with the protective blood-brain barrier, allowing more harmful substances to enter the brain and wreak havoc on delicate neural tissue. And this sets the stage for not only memory loss, but also mood disorders, insomnia, and even increased risk of stroke, making it clear that brain health cannot be separated from the quality of fat we ingest every single day. And yet, despite this mounting evidence, many people still view seed oils as harmless or even beneficial because the marketing around them has been so pervasive. And that's exactly why neurologists are raising the alarm now, because the science has reached a tipping point and the truth can no longer be ignored. And what's more, when these oils are removed and replaced with healthier fats, such as extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, grass-fed butter, or omega-3 rich foods like wild-caught salmon, the changes in brain function can be dramatic, offering hope not only for those trying to prevent neurodegeneration, but also for individuals already experiencing early signs of cognitive decline, because the brain, while vulnerable, is also remarkably resilient when given the right fuel and environment, and understanding which foods harm it versus which ones nourish it could make all the difference in how we age, how we think, and how we live in our most important years. As more neurologists examine the connection between diet and brain degeneration, they're discovering that these harmful oils are not just one of many contributing factors, but often the central driver of inflammation-related neurological decline, particularly in older adults who unknowingly consume these oils multiple times a day across different meals. And what makes this issue even more insidious is that food labels often mask the presence of these oils under vague terms like vegetable oil, shortening, or blended oil, leading many seniors to believe they're making smart choices when in fact they're feeding their brains substances that actively disrupt cellular health. And the brain, unlike many other organs, is incredibly sensitive to oxidative stress. When the fats in your diet are unstable and prone to oxidation, they generate free radicals that attack brain cells and interfere with the way those cells communicate. And over time, this leads not only to poor memory, but also to a general slowing of thought processes, difficulty concentrating, increased anxiety, and a more rapid decline in mental sharpness, all of which are mistakenly attributed to normal aging, when in fact they are often preventable symptoms triggered by something as simple and overlooked as the oil used to saute vegetables or fry an egg. And the longer these oils remain in your diet, the deeper the damage becomes, because the brain stores and incorporates these fats into its structure, meaning that low-quality fats become part of your neurological foundation, affecting everything from your sleep quality to your balance to your risk of depression and stroke. And the reality is that even a few tablespoons a day of these toxic oils can lead to chronic, low-grade inflammation that wears down the brain's resilience over the years. And it's not just memory loss that becomes a concern, but also emotional instability, increased risk of migraines, hormonal imbalances that affect cognition, and changes in sensory perception, such as worsening vision and hearing clarity, which can all be traced back in part to the inflammatory load introduced by these processed oils. And if you're someone who's been cooking with these oils for years, or consuming packaged snacks and ready-made meals without checking the labels, the good news is that it's never too late to make a change. The brain is capable of healing and rebuilding neural connections even in later life if the right conditions are provided. And one of the most powerful ways to create those conditions is by eliminating these harmful oils entirely and replacing them with anti-inflammatory, brain-supporting alternatives like cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil, which is rich in polyphenol that actively fight brain aging, or ghee and coconut oil, which provides stable saturated fats that the brain uses as clean fuel, especially in older adults who may have reduced insulin sensitivity in the brain, a condition that's been linked to Alzheimer's and even referred to by some researchers as type 3 diabetes. And this shift from inflammatory to nourishing fats can be one of the most transformative dietary changes a person over 60 can make, not only for brain health, but for overall vitality. Because as the inflammation in the brain decreases, people often report sleeping better, thinking more clearly, feeling less anxious, and even regaining their motivation and curiosity, two psychological factors that often wane in the presence of neuroinflammation, but return as the brain's environment improves. And perhaps what's most surprising to people who make this change is how quickly they begin to notice results, sometimes within a matter of weeks, because the brain, while sensitive, is also highly responsive when given the nutrients and conditions it needs to function optimally. And so this is not about fear or restriction, but about reclaiming control over how your brain ages, how your thoughts feel, and how sharp and capable you remain in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Because when you think about it, Your brain is the lens through which you experience everything. Your relationships, your memories, your independence, your ability to make decisions and feel confident. And if something as deceptively simple as an oil can cloud that lens and slowly corrode your mental clarity over years, it makes sense to take action now before the symptoms become more serious. And this is why neurologists are urging people not just to cut back on seed oils, but to treat their removal as a critical act of self-preservation, one that supports better cognition, mood stability, and even a longer lifespan, because with every bite we take, we're either feeding the fire of inflammation or nourishing the brain's natural ability to heal, regenerate, and thrive. And what's even more unsettling is that while seed oils may seem like a modern convenience, their widespread inclusion in our food system is a relatively recent development. And it's no coincidence that rates of neurodegenerative diseases have skyrocketed in the same decades that seed oils became a dietary staple. Because these oils are never part of our natural ancestral nutrition. They're a product of industrial processing, born from the desire to extend shelf life and maximize profit, not to nourish the human body, especially not the delicate, electrically charged tissue of the brain, which depends on high-quality lipids to maintain the insulation of its neurons, the fluidity of its cell membranes, and the integrity of the blood-brain barrier, all of which begin to break down when they are repeatedly exposed to the oxidized, unstable compounds found in oils like soybean, corn, cottonseed, sunflower, and even canola oil. And the problem compounds over time because these oils don't just cause harm in isolation. They also displace healthier fats in the diet. Fats that provide the very building blocks your brain needs to repair itself and fight age-related decline. And that displacement is often invisible until it's too late, until names are forgotten, moods become erratic, and daily tasks feel confusing or overwhelming. And for older adults, that cognitive erosion can be terrifying and isolating. Yet so many don't realize it might be traced back to the cooking oil used for breakfast or the dressing on a salad that seemed innocent enough. And it's particularly important to understand that these oils don't just pass through the system. They're absorbed, stored in tissues, and incorporated into the structure of your cells, especially fat-rich tissues like the brain, meaning their effects are long-lasting and, in some cases, irreversible unless caught early enough. Which is why neurologists are advocating for proactive education and dietary reform focused specifically on brain health. Because when we think about brain health, we often jump straight to supplements or memory exercises, when in fact the brain's ability to function starts with physical nourishment at the cellular level. And if that nourishment is compromised by toxic fats, no amount of puzzles or vitamins will fully compensate for the damage being done every day through regular dietary exposure. And for those who doubt just how powerful dietary fat is in determining brain outcomes, consider that. Conditions like multiple sclerosis, which involve the degradation of the fatty myelin sheath that insulates neurons, are directly related to the body's ability to produce and maintain healthy fats. And the same is true in a more subtle but widespread way for cognitive aging. The wrong fats strip away the protection, leaving neurons vulnerable to misfiring, degradation, and ultimately death, which manifests as memory loss, confusion, and difficulty performing tasks that once came naturally. And this is not a slow or passive process. It's active and fueled daily by what's on our plate, which is why a complete reassessment of dietary fat intake is not just helpful, but critical if we want to preserve mental function into our later decades. Because it's not just about living longer, it's about staying mentally present, emotionally connected, and intellectually engaged with the world. And none of that is possible if the brain is under constant siege from hidden toxins masquerading as safe. Cooking ingredients. And while it may feel daunting to suddenly question something that has been part of your kitchen for years, the truth is that knowledge is empowerment, and recognizing this threat gives you the chance to make different choices starting now, because it's never too late to begin the process of repair, and the body, especially the brain, is incredibly adaptive when it receives the right support. And by removing seed oils and replacing them with clean, stable, and anti-inflammatory fats, not only can you slow the decline, but in many cases, you can reverse symptoms that were previously thought to be permanent. Because when the inflammation subsides, when the brain's environment becomes less hostile and more nurturing, neural pathways start firing more effectively, short-term memory improves, word recall becomes sharper, and that persistent mental fatigue many older adults attribute to aging begins to lift like a fog, revealing the vibrant, engaged mind that was still there underneath it all, simply waiting for the toxic load to be lifted. And this isn't just theory. It's being witnessed in real time by neurologists and functional medicine practitioners across the world who are seeing their patients' cognition improve significantly once these oils are eliminated. And that tells us something profound about the human body. That healing is always possible, that the damage is often not as permanent as it feels, and that the small decisions we make around food, like what oil we use to cook our eggs or what brand of snack we choose, have ripple effects that extend all the way to the health of the most complex organ we possess, the brain, which deserves to be nourished with care, not compromised by cost-cutting ingredients that never belonged in the human diet to begin with. And as we continue to learn more, the urgency becomes clearer, because every meal is an opportunity to protect or to poison, to heal or to harm. And when it comes to something as precious as your memory, your mood, and your independence, the choice to eliminate brain-shrinking seed oils becomes not just a dietary preference, but a powerful act of preservation and self-respect. Ultimately, what we're seeing here is a profound shift in how we need to approach aging and cognitive health, because in many ways, we've been misled to believe that cognitive decline is inevitable, something that simply happens as we get older. But the reality is that much of it is a result of what we put into our bodies over the course of our lives. And when we look at the fact that something as simple as changing the oils in our kitchen can have such a dramatic impact on brain health, it becomes clear that our habits around food are crucial to our overall well-being. And while it may seem challenging to change ingrained habits, the truth is that it doesn't take much to begin seeing improvements. Simple swaps like choosing olive oil for cooking, using avocado oil for salads, or even switching to grass-fed butter can make a world of difference for your cognitive function. And when you make those changes, you're not just protecting your brain in the short term, but you're laying the foundation for long-term mental clarity, emotional stability, and a greater sense of well-being. And while it's easy to become discouraged by the overwhelming amount of information we are bombarded with daily about what's good and bad for us, the key is remembering that the power to improve our health is often in our hands, and small, consistent changes are the most sustainable and effective. So when you think about all the ways you can support your brain and protect your cognitive function, removing these dangerous seed oils is one of the most important and empowering actions you can take. And it doesn't stop with food. Brain health is a multifaceted journey, and it involves everything from staying mentally active to managing stress, getting enough sleep, and keeping a positive social environment. But food plays an undeniable, foundational role in shaping how well your brain ages. And now we know, thanks to the work of neurologists and researchers, that the oils we use in our kitchens, the ones so many of us have been led to believe were safe, are actually a direct threat to our most precious organ. And when you start making these dietary changes, you'll notice how much more vibrant and sharp you feel and how much clearer your thoughts become. It's like a fog lifting. And what's truly remarkable is that the more you nourish your brain with the right fats and anti-inflammatory foods, the more your body becomes attuned to the natural rhythms of health, where instead of just getting by or managing the symptoms of aging, you're actually thriving mentally and physically. And this shift is not just about prevention. It's about regaining control over your health and your future, and it's about taking a stand for your brain and your mental vitality for years to come. So if you take nothing else away from this video, let it be this: it's never too late to start making smarter, brain-healthy choices. And eliminating seed oils from your diet is one of the simplest and most powerful steps you can take right now to protect your cognitive function, reverse some of the damage that's already been done, and set yourself up for a clearer, more vibrant future. Remember, the brain is a living, breathing organ that responds to what we put into it, and with the right nourishment, it has the capacity to thrive, no matter your age. You don't have to accept cognitive decline as a given, and you don't have to wait for the symptoms to get worse before you take action. By making the decision today to cut out the harmful seed oils and replace them with fats that support brain health, you're investing in a future where you remain mentally sharp, emotionally balanced, and able to live the life you deserve, full of clarity, independence, and joy. If you found this information helpful and you want more tips on how to live your best, healthiest life as you age, be sure to subscribe to Healthful Living 60 Plus for more in-depth advice and insights. Remember, small changes can lead to big results, and taking control of your brain health today is the best way to ensure that you'll be living with the clarity and vitality you deserve tomorrow.